Voice is a very, very, very sensitive thing, isn't it? It really expresses so much about you. And if an actor doesn't know why they're saying what they're saying, they can even know what the line means, but if they don't know why they're saying it, they won't find the voice for it. And very true actors need to stay in an incommunicative place until they find that meaning. Some actors are able just to fake it and put it on, and that you can get by then too, though you have to take away that faking to find the true thing, so it makes it a little more effortful. The Greeks had 7 different modes of speech, and clarity was the first one. Grandeur is the next one. Beauty, speed, ethos, and the last one was decorum, or gravity. Now, clarity was first, but there were many other things. And so I feel with the actors, I want to encourage them that the beauty of what they're saying and how they're saying it is as important as the meaning of it, the emotional truth, all the different qualities. We hope that our performances have some soul, and by that I mean that there's some relationship between our physical, material lives and our imaginative, spiritual lives. That's what gives something soul. That we live within a wider context than the Minister for Finance in our governments would like us to believe.
I try to have integrity by being honest. It's putting yourself in the path of things and not being rigid around what you think you should be doing. And in our industry, there's a lot of other people are doing things and you feel like they are doing better things than you. Or, wow, look at what they're getting to do and I don't get to do that. And I've tried to let go of that as much as I can and just put myself in the path of whatever comes my way. It's been, if work comes to me, there's a reason it's coming to me, and then my choice is either do it or don't. So I found myself once again in a genre that I didn't expect to be in ever again, and it was super successful. And that gave me an opportunity to find a creative home, which I've been sort of looking for my whole life. I've been very much a lone wolf. And so all of a sudden, I'm finding myself now in a position where I found a home, a creative home. And the very thing I've been trying to do on my own, I now feel like I have a little bit of a nest to do it in. A little bit of, not too much, but enough support that there's an actual destination place for this possible work. Something I've been trying to do since I was, by the way, 19 years old. I've been trying to develop things since I was 19 years old.
Since I was acting since I was 6 years old. By the time I was 16, I've put in a solid decade of like hard work in the biz, and now I'm 16 and I'll start making my own films. It feels very kind of sort of life affirming to now find myself happily here, and also now I sort of love acting more in a weird way. Like I find I have a much kind of happier attitude towards acting because it's just that job. Like it's not my job to think about those other things anymore. That is why I wanted to even start making my own things in general, was to like no longer be at the mercy of sort of like waiting by the phone for somebody to call me and let me know that I was worthy. Like as soon as I have an idea, I want to see it kind of realized. It's like I want everything to just fucking be happening. You know, I'm a New Yorker. Showbiz happens on LA time. It actually takes like years and years just to remember that like we're all full of fear, you know, like life is terror. I don't know who said that, just kidding, no one. And similarly that we're all just, you know, bozos on the bus. Also, nobody in particular. Life is such a weird thing. I mean, we all know we're gonna die, and yet we have this kind of like inner like wiring of the human spirit that says go on living and do something with this time. So worst case scenario, you know, it's going to end it either way. So you may as well take the risk. I mean, nobody's getting out of here alive, so why not get involved? Keep on keeping on because it's all a nightmare.
It's time for women's stories to be epic. It's time for them to be shot gloriously, in a complicated and, you know, a kind of filmic and cinematic with a great kind of grandeur, cinematic grandeur and beauty. And that the idea that it wasn't so much about it being pretty, but it being epic. It just kind of grew into a really organic process of finding people who responded to the script, responded to the book, responded to her vision of the film, and then stuck with it during the pandemic. Held on through a really long process and stayed committed to it. But I also think, these are consummate performers, and they're also theatrically trained performers. Almost all of the people in that loft have done theater. So they come from that kind of ethos. They come from that kind of technical background, that you create an ensemble and you depend on the ensemble because that's where your strength lies.
We rehearsed for 3 weeks before we started shooting. He considered us a theater company, so we knew our job. And clearly there was a great deal of prep and homework that I needed to do, very helpful in terms of giving me context. I really needed to just key in. These are people who deserve our empathy, and these are people who have thoughts and feelings, and this is a story that's behind closed doors. Be confronted by stories and ask yourself to challenge some previously held beliefs. That's a vestige of the presentational aspect of it having had been a stage performance. It still does feel, like a staged production, a play, 5 characters, 1 door, coming and going.
That's right.
And the rhythm of it is, a single camera, and that it's a small cast, again, made during the existential threat that we all lived under, and feeling like we have to do our very best with one another, because there might not be a chance to come back and do it again.
I started at the very top, so there was no way to go but downhill from there. It was frustrating, especially when I walk into the room to audition for the casting director, and she recognizes me and she says, "Oh my gosh, we love your work." A week will go by, 2 weeks will go by, and then nothing. It's not good for your confidence, that's for sure. 30 other Asian actors waiting to read for the same role. Went back and waited for the phone to ring. And it was that moment that I said, maybe this isn't for me. I saw it 3 times in the theater. I cried every single time. I wanted to be up there with them. I left, called my agent, and I said, I think I have a shot. 2 months went by. As each day went by, my hope of landing the job slowly dissipated. My wife, as a key, you will get this role. She said, this role is written for you, and you want it more than anything. You will get it. And that phone call was one of the happiest phone calls I have ever gotten. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I said, yes, 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 yes. Never in my life did I think that the word Oscar would be associated with my name. I just wanted a job. But now, looking back, I would not change a thing. It's so much sweeter now. A full life is a life full of ups and downs. You don't know what sweet tastes like until you've tasted, sour or bitterness. I still can't believe it.
Please, whatever you do, don't expect to get the part ever. It's just out of the, it's out of the question. But try to do the audition with the audience, because they are your audience, because actors don't have audiences. You need an audience. You need a way to get it out, and to use that as another lesson. Is my way of being on top of it. It's almost like the old saying, having a plank and a passion. That's what you need, a plank and a passion. And that's a plank, and if you have a passion, you go up there and do Shakespeare. To me, it's about having a partner you do a scene with, and you do it together, you rehearse it, and then you do it in front of an audience. And if you do it enough, you start to learn. Sometimes there's instructors there to help you, guide you a little bit. But it is the action. Action is what counts. You learn, like anything else, like you said, how to get to Carnegie Hall, practice. You can't just walk in and just do it. If you're first violinist, you have to have a lot of practice. So the same thing with the actor. You have to have there's one thing to have the desire, which is the most important thing, to feel the energy and the desire to do this thing, the appetite to do it. Appetite's very important.
I think sometimes you just in your guts, instinctively, you just know, and when that happens, it's such a beautiful experience, because that's commitment. And when you have commitment, then passion and love and all these different emotions starts coming in. And then it's also not fear. Then, it's worry. Because what if I haven't done the best, or haven't, have I got but when you are confident of the people that it's come together for that, because if you look at the people who are involved with the project, you can see it's all a labor of love. You just stop and you say, okay, the little miracle has happened. It's right here in front of me, and it's mine. You try to comprehend, you try to gather as much information, and that's on the technical side. But I think what I tried to capture was her aura, the essence of this woman. And to be able to do that, it was trying to step into her world. What made her think like this? What did she believe in? What were her views, her philosophy? I always felt like I'm not prepared enough. There's something I've forgotten to do. The aging process, so many worries. But at the same time, I think you calm down and you think it's all coming from here. And I really believe that we are so committed to it that it will, because that's all we can do, is to do our very best.
For me, when I started, I was just overwhelmed by opportunity. I mean, I just didn't understand and couldn't understand, and still I haven't reconciled myself, nor do I need to, with completely understanding how all that happens at the beginning. But now I do feel a little more settled in it, just in that I've been working as an actor for 15 years, and I've been very lucky to keep getting the opportunity to work, I think. And it's been an interesting couple of years, just as you said, with the just variety of different films and different filmmakers and styles and periods that I've been given the opportunity to explore, and this was an extraordinary experience for me. It was about as peculiar an experience, both in the with regard to the material and also the process of making the film. It's all just very immersive in a kind of a unusually clinical way, which was bizarrely pleasing and surprisingly warm for its clinicality. We all have the opportunity, or so many of us have a greater opportunity to grow and evolve within whatever we have chosen to spend our lives doing, or whatever life has chosen to bestow upon us, whether it's parenthood or romantic relationship or whatever your ambitions or hobbies are. So I think the ideal thing in life is that you keep growing and changing, and this does provide an opportunity for that, for sure.
I became a student at that age, and as a result, I was already a seasoned professional. And she would say things, and I would go like, that's the greatest thing I ever heard in my life. And the kids, the 20-year-olds sitting around me were just like, because they didn't realize the significance of her instruction, because they were not practiced. And I was practiced. So for me, it was just like pennies dropping one after another. And I wanted to study as much as I could with her. She felt that certainly for the great texts that she was working on, the great classic texts, you can't, if you're playing the Queen, if you're playing Elizabeth I of England, and you're thinking about your grandmother in Hoboken, you're insane. She wanted you to be within the imaginative circumstances of the piece that you were in, and she had justifications and actions that you would play, and a very, very great understanding of what human behavior is and how to find ways to call it out in yourself. The behavior, the doingness, what you do, how you act, not what you are feeling. She said actors feeling emotion is the cheapest commodity on earth. She said, you all want to get up on stage, you're like monkeys. She said, being on stage is not for you to be comfortable and cozy and having your own little feelings. Yeah. So I responded to this teaching. And it is opposite, actually, of what is typically thought of as method, which is that you are working from a point of view of your own feelings and what you are feeling and creating feelings. And she would maintain that you can't create feelings. You are not a machine. You can't do something the same way you did it that time when your puppy died and feel the same exact thing in the same way. You don't function like that. You need to research and think about many things depending on the nature of the script. Any script that has any historical relevance, you have to research. You have to understand the mores and values of the time, what the things in the script meant in that world, in that society, what the values were, where your character was in that society, what was your station, what was appropriate behavior. You have to do a tremendous amount of thinking. And also, your character talks a great deal, usually, because humans do, about the past. You have to think about that past in a creative and vivid way, not just a practical way. I was born in Chicago in 1922. That's not enough. You have to evoke it in a more rich way so that you have stuff in you, which then the action of the play draws out of you in the performance. You know, it comes up, it bubbles up. You must put it in. Leave it alone. Act, do, engage. I'm trying to communicate with you now. That's an action. I don't have to be thinking about my grandmother to do it, or anything. I don't have to be feeling anything to do it. In fact, the act of doing it is making me feel something. I'm not feeling something so that it'll make me do it.
What are impressions? They have nothing to do with what somebody told you about the play. Some of these impressions are right and some of them are wrong. But at least you are not pushing the play. You are not putting into this typical type of literature called the play form, the modern play form. It is a skeleton, and you have to discover where the bones go. It has no bones, it has no flesh. You have to take it upon yourself to say, this skeleton needs me. It needs the histrionic side of literature. The play is a theater piece. And a theater piece is not literature. It is a play. Therefore, if you play the literature and leave out the actor, you are doing something that doesn't belong to the theater. The theater has a balance. In the middle is the theater. On one side is the actor, that's the histrionic side. On the other side is the words, that's the literary side. It is a form that needs the actor. Now, if you leave out the contribution of the actor, then there is no play, because it's nothing. It's words not making sense. Histrionic means the acting side of a play, and you must use the play like an ingredient for yourself. Then somebody says, it's theater.